we're talking today about how to win the morning. What does that even mean? What are we going to talk about?
This is a topic I've been wanting to talk about forever. I think how you start your day sets you up for success or sets you up for failure. And some people waste their mornings. It drives me nuts, so inefficient. So we get to drive into what does Kyle's morning look like? What's my routine look like? And there's similarities and there's some fun differences and some fun into our we're a little weird, little whack jobs, but it's cool, it's fun, that's who we are.
Yeah, this one should be fun. And sometimes ours get a little information dense as we really just try to strip away all the needless stuff and just give you what info you need. We're going to have some fun with this one today.
Very practical.
We're going to cover why we think everyone should have a morning routine in some form, a fun little rundown of each of our own morning routines, some good takeaways and a little making fun of each other, and some themes that we think should be present in everyone's morning routine. Let's give the little overview first. Why have a morning routine? If you remember all our talks on habits, right? Setting goals, building good habits, breaking bad habits. Automating good habits allows you to be more productive, healthier, happier, with less energy, right? So if it's a routine, this can be a very mindless process that sets you up for success for the day, like Peter was saying. And the start of your day, before life starts throwing curveballs and left hooks at you, is likely more within your control than other sections. So having a really good afternoon routine, yeah, but a lot of times your kid might fall off the playground at lunch and you got to go deal with that, right? The start of your day is probably the most within your control section of the day.
And a lot of people know too, when they exercise or move in the morning, it gets done a lot more consistently. When they move it later, again, like Kyle said, stuff happens and there's things that you just can't control, or that is a higher priority. Like my kid falls, hey, I got 2 more sets of bench and then I'll be right over. And I was like, no, you're not gonna do that.
Starting on the right foot will put you in a better mindset for whatever curveballs life has in store for the day ahead. Now we can handle whatever else life threw at me, right? We'll start with my morning routine. We're gonna do examples first and then get to the big themes later. My morning routine, 6:20 wake up. Often awake about 10 to 30 minutes before the alarm because my circadian rhythm is pretty dialed in due to something that will come up later here. I have a random time, but this gives me exactly enough time to get things done before certain checkpoints that come up later in the routine. Knock out my basic hygiene stuff, including flossing. I just put that one in there specifically because that one is one of the things I check off on my habit tracker later in the day because I probably wouldn't floss if I didn't have that little reminder. Knock out my flossing. Then my first thing I really look forward to is my morning sunlight on the balcony. I'm in a little upstairs portion of a condo complex right now. Balcony faces east, sunrise coming over the trees, perfect spot to get a little morning sunlight in. If you remember our Sleep 101 podcast, getting morning sunlight in your eyes is really key for setting your circadian rhythm and kind of kickstarting this natural timer, essentially, that makes you tired again 14 to 16 hours later. I think being really consistent with this habit, is, I think, really helpful for making me often wake up before my alarm the next day. But I don't just have to sit there and stare at the sun, right? What else can I do while I'm out there? Knock out a little email as a reminder cleanse. A few of those things are answering your questions. If anyone's listening who does our online programming in Train Heroic, I just have a little reminder that goes off that says, hey, check Train Heroic questions, and I respond to questions from the previous day's workouts. I do my own daily precision nutrition reading. I'm going through the PN Pro Coach program as a client right now. I do it, about a year on, take a little break, do it for another year, just because I'm always trying to get 1% better there. And I read the Morning Brew newsletter as a way to stay up to date on current events. So if you haven't heard of that, I highly recommend.
Would you say like the highlights of the Morning Brew? Why did you pick that one?
It's targeted to like my demographic of giving you the news in a kind of humorous,
fun
way. Yeah. Digestible. It takes me 3 minutes and I can be a little more informed. Then a little mobility routine. I'm going to be moving more throughout the day with my clients. I'm going to have some times in the week where I put more time towards this, but just each day I just get into a deep squat. I do some deep lateral squats. I do a little lunge and rotation. I might do a little extra spine and shoulder mobility. Again, it might be 2 minutes on some days, but just briefly touching my end ranges of my hips and ankles and spine and shoulders. And then I do a little vision routine. This is probably one of my more unorthodox things, but I have a little background in some neurology coursework, and your vision is super important for many reasons. I specifically have astigmatism in my left eye, so there's certain drills that help maintain my base visual skills. Kind of think of those as like doing your squats and push-ups, but then also some things that help myself not become super right eye dominant and help my eyes work together a little bit better. So again, just something I put a few minutes towards every morning. And what can I multitask with while I'm getting my morning sunlight into my eyes on the balcony?
So what do you do if it's cloudy? Or what if it's all of a sudden the time change? Like, what do you do now?
If it's cloudy, if it's sunny, I should start with that first. 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight is enough for the mechanism to work. Cloudy, more like 20 to 30. So I don't always get that much time right now, but I do walk my dog later to get a little bit more. Moving on, it's about 7 o'clock now. I make breakfast for my fiance, or if you're listening to this 6 months from now, my wife, and myself. She has to head out for work by 7:15, so that's why I pop back in to make breakfast at 7. I prepped my kind of lunch and snacks for the day. My own breakfast is 6 eggs with a half cup of cottage cheese thrown in there. That's how I get my 2 palms of protein in the morning, combined between those two things. A fist of chopped veggies, 2 fists of spinach, so I get some good veggie intake in the morning, and then 1 handful of chopped sweet potato, which kind of ends up being like a third to half a sweet potato, depending on the size. So that's my carbohydrate.
Is your sweet potato already cooked? And you just warm it up?
It is not. I chop it and I microwave it for 2.5 minutes.
Oh, wow, fast.
Yeah. My fiance would like me to microwave it for longer if I ever make it for her. I think 2.5 minutes is perfect. Bulk of my lunch and snack prep happens Tuesday mornings for the week, but I do assemble a Tupperware of fruit and veggie each day that I bring with me to work. So I knock this out between 7 and 7:30. Including eating. It takes me about 10 minutes to make all this, and then eat until 7:30. And then I walk our dog Stubby from 7:30 to 8.
And get that additional
sunlight. So if it's a cloudy day, I'm getting a little more there. Then I come inside, feed Stubbs, check things off on my habit tracker. Again, I just listed a lot of things that I do, but the things I check are morning sun, flossing, mobility, vision. Just because if I miss any of those things, the morning sunlight I can't miss, but I get back to them later. For some reason, my morning routine was thrown off. I want to check those things off before the day's over. And head out to work by 8:10. These are for days that I start at 8:30. Some days I have more morning time and I get some other stuff done, but that's kind of my standard day. Yeah.
Awesome.
Passing it off to Peter. Peter's morning routine.
All right, so most days I said it's in that 5:45 to 6 a.m. wake up. I'm usually at the gym pretty early most days a week. Weekends, again, like we've talked about, we like to keep a fairly consistent rhythm, so I still try to get up around that same time. I wish I could say I wake up 15 or minutes or so before my alarm, but very rarely I do unless I have to pee really bad. That wakes me up. So yeah, then first thing, bathroom. I love doing some sort of cold water. I don't do the showers too often unless my wife is awake, because the shower's right there and it'll wake her up, and if she's sleeping at that time, I don't want to hear about it later, and I want to be kind and respectful. So I'll just do the cold water splash on the face. Tongue scraping. I think so much of your health starts in your mouth. I shouldn't say always, but for quite a while I've been that way. So I have little things that I like to do that's kind of geared at that. So that's where the tongue scraping comes in. And then I have a cocktail. And when I make a cocktail, no alcohol involved, but I put salt, I use some sort of fresh squeezed lime or lemon, a couple tablespoons apple cider vinegar, cinnamon, ginger. All these are kind of geared at my gut. And then after I finish that, I like it with room temp water, so that's why I make it the night before. And then I will have a gut primer type supplement that has greens, fiber, digestive enzyme, pre-postbiotics, stuff like that. Again, gut has become a more and more important thing to me, especially in the last 10 years. And I'm a huge fan of starting your day early with kind of a surplus of your hydration. I probably try to get in 20 to 25% of what I want to intake with regards to hydration within the first 10 minutes of awake. And ideally, like I said, something that's easy temperature-wise, so not hot, not cold, but just easy to go into my system, just to prime the gut for what's coming as the day goes. And then from there, again, another thing with health starting in your mouth, I like to oil pull. I usually use coconut oil because it's simple, easy. I can get a good high-quality coconut oil, and it's very inexpensive. And so I'll put that in my mouth after I have finished drinking whatever I'm going to drink, because I'm not going to drink anything else for a while. I like to oil pull generally for 20 minutes or so, plus or minus 5. During that time, I'd like to do a little bit of a morning devotion. I do a little HRV reading it takes 3.5 minutes, but I want to be still. I try to sit in the same spot every time so that I can have more consistent readings there. I usually at that time will just open my phone and just make sure there's no emergencies. If there's not, I just try to put it away, because I don't want that, because it can take me down a rabbit hole and then I'll end up being late too. Kind of like Kyle, I'll pack my food for work. Usually we do a lot of food prepping once or twice a week, so I don't really take much more than a minute or two just to grab what I need for that day. We have chickens, so I got to remind myself to go out and open that door so they don't get pissed and wake up all the neighbors. And then from there, I like doing some sort of movement, and I can ride a bike to work now, which is super cool with where we ended up moving our space. So I will do that most days of the week, and then on the weekends, or if there's a day I come in a little bit late, I will still try to get on a stationary bike that we have just to move. And then I keep the oil in my mouth, one, because I need to have it there longer, but two, it forces me to nasal breathe. I don't have an option, or I will or spit out or suck in that oil, and it kind of gets nasty after it's been in your mouth for a while. So that's just a simple thing that I'll do, and I find it just, again, helps my brain and my body for success, just getting some blood flow, some movement, and as much as possible doing it outside. Usually it's pretty dark, so I don't get a whole lot of sunlight there.
No.
So, depending on what I'm at the gym, my first group is usually around 6:30 in the morning. So I'm right into coaching. This morning, for instance, like Tuesday, Thursdays, I generally don't have coaching too early. So we have a PEMF mat, which we can get into another time, but I find that's really valuable from the mental clarity perspective. So I will try to stay on there for 15 to 30 minutes. Sometimes there's some urgent projects. I will jump into that, try to prioritize those top 2 or 3 things that will move the needle before, again, text, emails, any of those things. Or if it's on the weekend, sometimes it's prepping the kids breakfast, so maybe my wife doesn't have to do it because she does it every other day. So, and then for me, because of my schedule, I also find if I eat too soon after waking up, my gut doesn't digest it as well. When I was in my 20s, no big deal, but as I've gotten older, I've noticed it's just not quite as good. So I like being awake for probably close to 2 hours, then all of a sudden my stomach will start, hey, don't forget about me. So depending on my schedule and what I have coaching, I'll eat somewhere in that 7:45 to 8:45 window, and then I try to go outside and take that. And what do I usually eat? Monday through Friday when I'm at the gym, which I've been known for, I don't know, at least a decade, I tend to eat 2 cans of sardines. Why? Because it hits my protein bucket, it hits my omega-3 bucket. I find my eyes, my vision, my joint, all those things tend to do really well when I have high levels of omegas. I like having, again, stuff that's more related to the gut, so I tend to have something that's fermented, plain kefir or something that, again, I tolerate well and I like it. And then I usually, to cleanse my mouth and to check on my other bucket, is I usually get a couple pieces of fruit in. Apples, bananas are probably the most common, oranges, depending on the time of the year, and it also washes my mouth, so if I gotta talk to Kyle after and I have sardines in my breath, I can blunt that a little bit. So, and then this is the time I will tend to take my vitamins because it helps me. I don't have to think about it. Some of my vitamins are fat soluble, so I need to intake them with some fat versus some of my water soluble. So it's just easy if I do these all the time. So, a really good solid multi, something that I found is really important is if I aged a B complex, vitamin DK, depending on the time of year and how much sunlight I'm getting or not. And then something just to help kind of cleanse the liver, stuff that I've had off and on. So that's a pretty typical Monday through Sunday routine.
All right. So you were thinking, man, Kyle's vision drills, that's kind of weird. And then you're like, wait, I don't even know what oil pulling is. Peter eats sardines for breakfast. What's going on here? But if you know us at all, or if you're getting to know us better as a result of the last 10 minutes, you should know that none of this stuff is abnormal for us. We thoroughly enjoy every part of this routine. And are we telling you that you need to do all of these things? No, that's not the point, right? Wait, one more thing on your routine here, Peter.
Sorry, I completely forgot about this. So as you can see, coffee, I have some, and it's not all the time, but I definitely don't do well if I have coffee early in the morning. From a digestive standpoint, if I needed a cleanse, drink coffee when I wake up, I'll get a cleanse, So I will have coffee a little bit later if I need it, mainly from a mental clarity standpoint. That's when I like to do it, if I'm just hammering projects, but I like to have it at least 2 to 3 hours after I've been awake, kind of that mid-morning. I find that's when I get the effect that I'm looking for. If I have it right when I wake up, if I have it later in the day, then that wreaks havoc in some other areas. So this is when I find if I'm gonna have some, this is a great time.
Love it. Okay, so getting back towards takeaways for you. You're like, okay, that was a wild ride, what you guys do. The big themes, though, in our morning routines that we think apply to everyone are a few things. Number one, a consistent wake time. So Peter mentioned that specifically. I didn't, but same for me. Even on the weekends, even when I have later work starts, still the same wake up time. Makes it a whole heck of a lot easier to wake up on the days you need to wake up that early. For one, just having a normal set circadian rhythm. There's a whole lot of benefit to making it easier to fall asleep at night when your wake times are consistent. So I'm going to really highly recommend a consistent wake time. Sunlight is going to be our second big theme. Finding a time to get sunlight in your eyes within the first hour of your day if possible. During certain times of year, depending on when you wake up, that might not be possible, but as soon as you can, schedule a little time in your morning to get some sunlight in your eyes. It's going to help you a ton, again, with having a normal set circadian rhythm. So for me, that's my morning balcony. For Peter, that's depending on the time of year, his bike ride to work. But if not, hey, at least it's his breakfast after that first session, right? 5 to 10 minutes on a clear day, 30 minutes on a cloudy day. Okay. Movement, right? So for some of you, this might be your workout for the day. It might be that thing you do first thing in the morning before work. Awesome. That obviously checks the box. Even for us, though, who might be working out mid-morning or afternoon or later in the afternoon, getting some movement in early is going to help a lot. I find that just my mobility routine makes me use my end ranges more often throughout the day. If I skip it, when I'm coaching, I don't even really want to demo that pattern that well. And now I move less throughout the day. But when I early on got moving, now I'm just happy to move all day, and that effect builds, right? But there's also some benefits just towards getting your blood pumping a little bit. Again, all these things that make your body wake up, and that also helps you feel more tired later. So,
and just for me, when I coach in the morning, that's just one of these things why I really wanted to keep this group, because it forces me to do some of this. And I don't realize it until I'm on vacation for a week. And if I start to get off, I'm like, why did I sleep like this? Why do I feel like this? And I'm like, oh, my routine is very different. And a lot of the things that I take for granted, I'm like, ugh. So then I'll get back onto that. And then again, on vacation, I still do that. It's amazing how much better it sets it up. Movement also so helpful for the gut, for bowel movements early in the morning. I just can't overemphasize that.
So we got consistent wake time, sunlight, some form of movement. Again, whether that's a full workout, a walk, mobility, whatever it might be. Then putting quality fuel in the tank, right? So having a good breakfast routine, maybe stacking that with a meal prep routine for the rest of the day, so your morning can set you up for success down the rest of the day as well. And another note is no caffeine right away. The way caffeine works is it inhibits the buildup of a molecule in your body called adenosine, or not the buildup, sorry, it inhibits the binding of that molecule that makes you sleepy. When you sleep, you kind of clear that molecule out, but it's not entirely cleared until a little bit later in your morning. And if you have caffeine right away, it prevents the full clear out of that. So then your caffeine wears off, you're tired again, you have more caffeine, now you're messing with the sleep the next night. So just letting your body clear out the rest of the adenosine from the previous day before you have your caffeine is going to be really helpful for you. And a little bit of an adjustment if that's not what you're doing now, but will be a very helpful thing for you.
And if you have that morning consistent routine, most people, caffeine is so habitual, that coffee is so habitual. It's like, if you really want something warm to drink, because I know some people will do that too, at least put some milk or put something in there so there's some sort of nutrients that you have there, so you're not especially drinking caffeine on an empty stomach. Or maybe it's just warm water, maybe it's an herbal tea, maybe it's just something there if that's really what you're after. But most of the time, people don't miss it once you get into that routine.
And then last big theme is clear the mind and set the day up for success. This could look like a whole lot of different things, but maybe it's a journaling routine, maybe it's a meditation, maybe it's writing a to-do list for the rest of the day, maybe it's checking things off on your habit tracker, but something along the lines of, okay, I'm getting myself oriented in either a productive mindset, or if you're someone who's already scrambling, maybe you need to do the opposite and calm yourself down a little bit before entering that mindset, for the rest of your 9 to 5 or whatever the case may be. But I think having something in this realm is a really valuable piece of the routine. So for me, that's having my little habit tracker. Okay, I check those boxes. I just feel mentally like, okay, I took care of myself. Now I can go on with the rest of the day. Peter mentioned his HRV reading where he's sitting there quietly and calmly. Things like that just help you get into a good headspace.
And for some, if you're not sure where to start, my favorite is probably a gratitude journal.
Yes.
Spend 2 minutes, whatever. What are 2 or 3 things that I am thankful for? And you start your day with that, suddenly your gratitude goes up for the rest of the day, and some of those other negative emotions tend to be less.
Yeah, love it. So that's all we got for today. Kind of a quicker podcast. In summary, have a routine. Tinker, mess around, see what works for you, have fun with it. Peter does this, I want to do that for 2 weeks, see how I like that. Do I like sardines in the morning? Maybe, I don't know, Mess around with it, see what works for you, but consider those big themes, again, of consistent wake time, sunlight, movement, quality fuel, clear the mind and set up the day. Okay? If you can put all those pieces into the first hour of your day, you're probably going to start having a whole lot better of days. That was a weird sentence, but I think the point got across.
Wonderful. Yeah. Hey, whatever works, right?
Cool. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.